Okay, here is this week we read a double portion, right? So here's Parshas Vayelech. That's the second Torah reading. Some years that we read it separately. Remember, we just learned about that Pat Pagamelech, and sometimes we read it separately. But this year we read them together. Okay, and one of the commandments over here, not a commandment, I'm sorry, God speaks to Moses. And God speaks to Moses right before Moses dies. And he says, it says, Lakoach at the Sefer Torah, that take this Torah, take the Sefer Torah. Razal Zogan, the rabbis say that Moses, he wrote the Katav Yad with his hand. He wrote a Torah, 13 Sefer Torahs on one day. 12 of them are for the 12 tribes, and one Sefer Torah that he is gefinen in Aaron. He put it on the side of, so there's different opinions where it is, in the ark which was in the Holy of Holies. Why did he write the Sefer Torah? Why? She'im yibakesh, because if people want l'zayef if people might maybe have an urge to make a mistake or to change one of the words of the Torah, they would take this Sefer Torah out from the Holy of Holies. I guess the high priest would do it on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, or maybe they could lower a person sometimes down. Anyway, and they would look at the Sefer Torah, and oid mevelt suchen to falschen Sache. If a person maybe wants to change something in the Torah, Zolmen Aroisnam, and you could take out the Sefer Torah from the ark. Okay, so for that you only had to write one Sefer Torah. Why do you have to write 13? Not only that, it makes no sense. If you ever seen a scribe write a Sefer Torah, I mean, if he works day and night, I think you can finish it in a half a year, but I don't. It's very doubtful. I think so. Usually not. It takes usually about a year, to write a Sefer Torah. It's very painstaking. It's very long to write, and every letter has to be exactly right, and it has to be. You can't, just print it out. Every letter has to be exactly right, and there's an order. You have to write the name of God. It's not so simple. Very difficult. It makes absolutely no sense to say that a person could write one Sefer Torah in a week or a month. For sure not in one day, and for sure not 13 in one day. But Moses did it. That's what God told him to do. That's what he did. 13 Torah. The Torah is eternal. I mean, we've been reading the Torah in public since Moses gave it to us. Moses established we should read the Torah 3 times a week. The whole thing on the whole week of Torah portion on Shabbat. That's why it's so ridiculous. The people that say that the Islam is based on the idea that the Jews lost the Torah. Well, that's just, it doesn't make any sense. The Jews have been reading the Torah in public for 3,300 whatever is 30 years. And if you go into a synagogue sometimes, if someone makes a mistake, everybody jumps on. Oh, everybody's happy. Made a mistake. Right? Everybody corrects the person if you make a mistake. And immediately the one who's reading, he corrects himself. So, 3,300 years, this has been going on. The Jews have been reading the Torah nonstop, somewhere at least. And if you look at the Sefer Torahs that are in the hands of the Sephardic Jews, like that are in Morocco or in Tunisia, and the hands of the Ashkenazic Jews, that they were in places which were inaccessible one to the other. There's the exact same Sefer Torah, exactly the same. The Torah is eternal. When Oich the Spurim, also the stories of the Torah, this is just a midrash, the stories of the Torah, they're also eternal. And not only are they eternal, but there's also a teaching for all the generations. What is this teaching that Moses wrote 13 Torahs? Thus was Benogea, this is what's relevant to the Pirtei Adinim, all the laws, Befran, and especially the customs, is Faran, on Unterschied. There's a difference between one place and another. Look at the customs of the Sephardic Jews, or the Ashkenazic Jews, especially when about 450 years ago, the Beit Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Cairo, he wrote the definitive book. This is like 400 years after Maimonides, 400 or 500 years after Maimonides. So he wrote a book of just laws, day-to-day laws. Maimonides covered the whole entire Torah. And like I said, there's a lot of differing opinions. There's people that disagree with the Rambam, of the Rambam's stature. Nowadays you can't disagree with the Rambam on your own. There's nobody, but people of the Rambam's stature could disagree with the Rambam, with the Maimonides. They could disagree with him. So the Beit Yosef, he came and he distilled all of the laws and all the different opinions, and he tried as much as possible to agree with the Rambam, and he made a Shulchan Aruch. So the Shulchan Aruch has laws, but those are mostly laws that go according to the Sephardic opinion. And there's also the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserles, he wrote a commentary right underneath where the Ashkenazic opinion is different. In any case, in different places, there are different customs. Zich like the post came from them ort, and each place has its own rabbis, and each rabbi in the place can go according to the laws. Like I say, the Sephardim have certain different. It's like a human being, right? Every human being has the same number of limbs and the same number of organs, but every human being is different. Even your fingerprints are different. So it's the same thing also. The basic laws of the Torah are all the same, but there's different nuances that can be changed. Okay, the room, because like it says, all the opinions, even in the Talmud, where there are all these arguments, that all the opinions, even the ones that are not accepted, are the words of the living God. Is the Talmud then? The reason is, well, the Torah, because the Torah was given to be learned b'chlal ubeprat ubeprati pratios. How can, if the Torah is so true, how can it be different from one place to the other? It says because the Torah was given to be learned and to be discussed in all the different details. For Yen and Neshama, for every soul of the Jews is rooted in a different aspect of the Torah. Yether, and so every Jew, Darv Zichfirin, has to go according to that portion of the Torah that he is connected to. So you find even among the Ashkenazic Jews, the Polish Jews were different from the Hungarian Jews, and the Hungarian Jews were different from the Russian Jews, and there was the Litvish Jews, they were different from the Hasidic Jews, and so it was all different, but it's all one Torah. But nevertheless, there was place in the Torah for expression and connection to God, each according to his own personality, just like the people are different. So there's these different external aspects of the Torah. The Zel B'zach, the same thing is also regarding our emotions, the service of God, the inner loving God and fearing God. It's different according to each person. As in them, Zayin Faran, Asach Chilukim, there's a different things inspire each different person to love God and to fear God, and each one expresses it different. That's why it says each Jew has a different gate to serving God. And generally, there's 12 gates to serving God. There's 12 different used to prayer books that we used to go according to the tribes. By means of praying to God, that's the thing of prayer. Each Jew is a little bit different. One second, excuse me. I want to make this bigger. I want to make it readable to me. This, that every Jew is different and that every Jew prays a little bit different and that there's laws and customs that are different, this is only relevant to certain details and well-known details. Un azoiv is an Indian from tefillah, just like it is by prayer, as is known that the different nusachs, the different, how do you say, versions of the prayer, there are generally Therefore, for Yud Gimel Hishtachavot, there were 13, how do you say, bowing down. They bow down in the temple, corresponding to the 13 gates that are hinted at which will be hinted at in the future, the third temple. 13 gates, and now each of these gates, 12 of the gates were for the 12 tribes. Shar Reuven, there's the gate of Reuven, there's the different gates in the third holy temple. On the Dritzter Shar, but the 13th gate is what's called the general gate. The general Shar HaKolel. For Allah Shabbatim, any of the tribes that they can't find their gate or they come late or whatever, they can go into this 13th gate. Well, the same thing is with prayer. There's a different style of prayer book. All the prayer books are basically the same. There's the songs of King David, and then there's Shema, and then there's what we call the Shmona Esrei, 19 prayers to God. That's basically all the Jewish prayer books are the same. But there's a little bit changes of words, and sometimes the order is changed a little bit between the Ashkenazic version and the Sephardic version and the Sephardic. So it says the same thing with the different versions of prayer. That's called a nusach. Was as far Yidden, which there's one general, there's 12 different versions of prayer for all the different types of Jews, but there's one that's relevant to everybody. What is that one that's relevant to everybody? On Hagam, even though that there is an advantage for the Sharim, that if everybody could find their own particular gate and their own particular way of prayer that's relevant to their soul, in other words, what tribe of the Jewish people, the 12 tribes you're related to, that's the best. On in their zeit, but in the time when it was given, when there was Kavus that was known to everyone which tribe you're relevant to, Yid is belonged, is given a better, this was better that everyone should go in his particular gate. And same also, everyone should pray with his own particular style of prayer book. But nowadays, then when me based in it, we don't know which tribe we're in. Und besser as afilu divas vesen, and even those people who do know, like the Kohanim and the Levim, they know they're the Kohen or a Levite, is on a Ryan, they can go through what's called the general gate. What's the general gate of prayer? There's a general prayer book for everybody. This is the Nusach for the Arizal. This is what's called the Arizal, what the first Rebbe of Chabad wrote. And that is a gate which is relevant to everyone. Al derech zeh, similarly, is oich the Torah, sinigla, whether we're talking about the revealed Torah, the inside of the Torah, to leave them was men veist nit. If a person does not know velcha shorish, which source you're in, therefore you have to go into what's called the general gate. In other words, you're a Jew. Yes. You have a desire to love God, to serve God, to pray to God. Whether you know it or not, you do. How you're going to do it is different from each and every person. But if you don't know what is your particular way, so there's a general way. You have to serve God. You want to pray to God. You want to love God. You want to fear God. So the Arizal, Rav Yitzchak Luria, developed a general way that's relevant to everybody. First aid, you want to call it. The Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, had made a rice clay, and he was chosen. And he joined, and he also compiled the Shulchan Aruch, and he clarified the laws in the revealed Torah, what you're supposed to do. There's the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, and he also founded Chassidut Chabad, and the inside of the Torah and this way to serve God. And he wrote what's called the 13th gate of prayer, a nusach koli, a general way of prayer that's relevant to every single Jew. And it's based on the Arizal. It's not just that he's just a nice person and he just decided to, according to his own opinion. He did everything according to the teachings of the Arizal, because prayer is a spiritual thing to arouse your heart. And the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, he defined, if you want to call it, the indefinable soul of a Jew, how to connect to the Creator. Was the Allah dry inyanim, was all these three things. They are sugipast, namely that the Rebbe wrote Chassidut, which talks about the soul. He wrote a book of law, which is talking about the Jewish body. And he wrote a book of prayer, which is talking about the Jewish heart. All these three things are general. All these three things, have to be fit for every Jew. Namely, the teachings of Chassidut, talking about the spiritual soul of every Jew. The Shulchan Aruch is talking about the body, physical body, what you're supposed to do with your body of every Jew. And the prayer book that he wrote is relevant to every Jew. That's like the 13th Sefer Torah that Moses wrote. Und for jeder Yin is for every single Jew. Und durch ze, and by means of this, can by every Jew Durchgehen alle Durchgehen alle ha'alot, all of the elevations in prayer, and all the hamshachot, and also all of the blessings in Torah and through the Torah. So that's the idea of Moses writing the 13th Sefer Torah. That's a Sefer Torah which is for everyone. So there has to be a general way to serve God. And that 13th Sefer Torah, that's the one that was put into the Holy Ark. That's the one that still exists. And the same thing is with the first Rebbe of Chabad. He wrote a general book of law. He wrote a general book to explain the soul. That's Chassidut. And he wrote a general book for prayer. That's the 13th general gate of prayer. That's the Alter Rebbe Siddur. Here we go. Siddur, Tilas Hashem. He wrote so, maybe God's will. As Melzan Gein derech Aslula, we should go in the paved path. Welche men hat for uns ois getrotten, which the Rebbe had, well-trodden path. Un men soll es mefid sein. We should advertise to all the Yidden, to all the Jews, also in addition to the ideas of the Shulchan Aruch, the law, and the nusach of prayer, which goes around and spreading out Judaism. So we should spread out the well springs of Judaism. Un mir haben de havtacha, then we have the promise, as by means of spreading out the well springs outward. Vet men der da vet sein der ka asimar. Then there will be what it says that Yeshua ben Levi asked the Moshiach, when are you going to come? Ka asimar, ematai, when are you going to come? And the Baal Shem Tov also asked the Moshiach, when are you going to come? And the Moshiach said to the Baal Shem Tov, when your teachings are spread out, da malka Mashiach is the malka Mashiach, the Korov Mamash, soon, really. That's the 13th gate. So it's the point. What's the point of all these teachings that we're learning about? Is to make us crazy for Mashiach and to make us totally, they say, unsatisfied with the world without Mashiach. The fact that we have Torah and we have the commandments and that we're religious and that's all wonderful, but we have to be broken. The Rebbe said, crushed, and awaiting desperately Mashiach coming. And interestingly, the people who oppose these ideas, and these are not, these are controversial ideas, if you want to call it. Most Jews who just want to take it easy. But when Chabad wanted to put Hanukkah menorahs outside, so all of the conservative and the reform, and could be others also, they were totally against it. You're rocking the boat, you're shaking, but we're supposed to be like Abraham, Av Hamun Goyim. We're supposed to teach all of the world, we Jews. We're supposed to be proactive. We have a message for the whole world. Our purpose of the Jews is not just to remain isolated and insulated from everyone. The Jewish part of us. It doesn't mean leave your Judaism behind in your house and then you can be around with everybody. No, your main essence is that you're a Jew and you have a message to teach to the world that God exists and the Torah is true. You don't want to do it? That's okay. That's the way God made you, that you don't want to do it. Overcome that. And that's what the Rebbe is trying to teach us, to overcome our nature, our reluctance to go out of ourselves and to do what Abraham did, the father of Judaism, to do what Moses did, take the Jews out of Egypt. And Mashiach is going to encourage us to do both of those things. Right? The whole world depends on Mashiach. The world without Mashiach is not a world. It's not a world. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a big total mistake. We don't know what real love is. We don't know what real meaning is. We don't know what real purpose is, what life is. We're just going through it. When we do a command, we don't really even know what we're doing. We have no idea that when you do a commandment, that you're attached to true reality. And that gives reality to the whole world. The importance of who has importance to the commandments? Well, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, go in the streets, take a pair of tefillin, ask a Jew if he wants to put on, and you'll see that there are Jews, non-religious Jews, that they do it. And they don't do it to go to heaven because they don't believe in heaven, but they do it because it's the truth, and it's the only truth, and they feel it's the truth. May it be God's will that we do this and we see it now, and Moshiach will come, reveal the third temple from heaven, and we'll see the 13th Sefer Torah of Moses, that Moses wrote for all the Jews, and all the Jews will be united together in the Holy Land, together with Moshiach now. And now we'll do the Yom Yom for today.